Hello and welcome to your official vibrational chronotherapy training. My name is Andrew Weaver, and on behalf of Bobby Joe Weaver and myself, we'd like to welcome you to NEHC Academy's training. So vibrational chronotherapy, or VCT, we're offering to you for free online, and that comes with a certification, with our certification. And the reason we're doing that is so that we can get our understanding and our concept and our perception of vibrational therapy out to the world. So VCT is more specifically using primarily unweighted tuning forks like this, and we're bringing that sound or that tuning fork therapy really close to the body. We're focusing on the body's timing systems, and that involves the nervous system itself and the sensors underneath our skin, which are designed to be able to sense vibration. They're called vibrotactile sensors, and we also use the auditory system as well. So this is primarily a special sense audio system, or a special sense, which is considered our audio system, and then everywhere else in the body, you have these sensors that are specially designed to detect vibration. And then there's the timing that goes along with that. So unweighted tuning forks, we're not doing diagnostics. We're not putting our hands or the tuning forks in this particular technique. We're not putting any tuning forks directly on the body. And this, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get into what types of diagnosis or conditions your clients may have specific to doing a VCT session. Now, this isn't the only technique. This isn't the only thing that we teach at NEHC Academy. And it's not the only technique that we use in New Earth Healing Center. So that's the NEHC for us. We have clients that come in that have pain and mobility restrictions. We use our weighted tuning forks for those. We have a completely different technique for that. This particular technique and these sessions will be for the point that you've already taken care of those pain-based issues and you're working through the mobility issues. Your body still has problems with the timing part of the rehabilitation part and getting the body back into tune, which is usually what we think of. We're tuning our body with the tuning fork. So I'm going to explain from our perspective. It was back in 1989 that I ended up joining the U.S. Navy, and I was really focused on vibration the entire 22 years that I was there. And my job was underwater acoustics, which meant that you were putting sound into the water, and then you had sensors to be able to detect sound. What I've learned over the years, and even working with robotics and working with teaching at a Fortune 500 company afterwards for building automation, that a lot of technology really has the same synchronization and the same processes that our body does. It's not to say that our body is completely mechanistic or mechanic, but there's a lot of the things that the knowledge that Bobby Joe and I had that brought forward to developing these techniques that we have that really come to play. And we wanted to make sure that whether you're a seasoned veteran or whether you're someone who's just learning about tuning forks and you're buying sets and you're buying tuning forks, that you don't know how to use them or what to do with them, whether you're working on a family member or whether you want to do this as a living, we'll be able to pass that information on to you. So let me take this screen here and bring this down a little bit so I can talk about these bullet points. So the first bullet point is vibrational chronotherapy is synchronizing cells, and cells make up tissue, and then we have certain systems that really need to be synchronized to specific rhythms. Let's say, for example, I'm moving my hand, and when I move my hand, my brain, my motor neurons are firing a certain way, but I also need feedback to make sure that my hand's in the right position in space. There's a timing issue involved in that. That way the feedback coming to my brain to say I'm moving my hand, I have a good synchronization. The timing involved for impulses to go out to my body, and then sensors telling me that everything is working at the correct timing and everything is right. So it's very much going to be about rhythms, and it's going to be about patterns too. When you walk, you have to consider your body and your brain and where your brain thinks your body is in space and time. There's a pattern involved with the way that you walk, the way you swing your arms, the way you move your head when you're taking steps, and how the way you take your step is, or your steps is, in your gait is going to be different, whether you're walking on ice, or whether you're walking downstairs, or whether you're dancing and skipping while you're walking, or whether something is going wrong with your timing system and you can't feel your feet, or you're having some restriction to your mobility, or you have pain, so you change your gait. Your pattern changes as well. So this understanding of synchronization, we usually use the word tuning in sound healing. Well, our understanding of tuning, if you think of tuning from the standpoint of tuning instruments, well, that's one of the main reasons why these unweighted tuning forks were created to begin with, so that when we're tuning, let's say, a piano, we can strike this tuning fork. It is considered a set point to calibrate a musical instrument. So if I'm using this tuning fork and I strike it, now I'm able to hear this tone, a set point, and then I'm able to calibrate or tune or change the way that something in the instrument vibrates at, so that it matches this clean, consistent vibration. I set my instrument, or one note on an instrument, to set to this calibration here, and then from that point on, especially if it's like a guitar, then I can take each individual string of that guitar and make sure that they are all synchronized to each other. Your body works very much in the same way, where you have timings that are needed for certain processes within your body. And a lot of times, once those calibrations or those timings go out, we think that we may have healed ourselves from certain conditions, but our body is still running out of calibration in these things. And we get things like nervousness, stress. We get conditions where we have tremors and inability to move our muscles the way that we need to, and we even have behavior and cognitive issues that go along with tuning and synchronization. And that brings me to the next bullet point, which is focusing on chronobiology. So the understanding of timing in the body is such a big thing for the body that there's its own science, its own branch of science and research and biology, chronobiology. Now, the main player in chronobiology is something called a circadian rhythm. And we usually hear that word circadian to mean that's the day and night cycle, or the cycle for an entire day-night, or an entire day. Now, circadian really means about a day, which means primarily light and dark. Now, the amount of light and dark you get is going to depend on where you are in the planet. But our brain, there's a certain spot in our brain, there's certain cells in our brain, the suprachiasmatic nucleus in our brain. It's just on the little bit towards the end of our optic nerve, where we process the timing. So you can see that there's an input from light and of course dark cycle throughout an entire day. That would be considered one of our main time setters for our body's biological clock system. It would be considered our master clock by many people. So this understanding of chronobiology is usually tied to circadian rhythms, which is your ability to know that there's a cycle of so much light during the day and then so much dark during the night. Your social clocks are built to that. When you eat, when you do certain things, when you sleep, how long you sleep. A lot of study that's been done on circadian rhythm is usually usually studied because of sleep problems. So there would be certain therapies clinical therapies that would be involved in resetting or changing our circadian clock, a master clock. If you understand the circadian clock, then everything else kind of runs off of that, because you have certain rhythms that happen often in less than a day, digestive processes, sleep, things like that. We have also in chronobiology the use of medications, understanding 2 points that with medications, pharmacological approach to healing the body is by administering medications during certain times where we know that the body is expecting our own body chemicals to be released during those times. So we would administer time-delayed medications, and also or medications specifically built to release themselves at a very exact time. So we have things like that. So the clinical approaches to chronobiology up until this even current time is that we're not really using a whole lot. We're trying to force. We know that we can change the body's time clocks, and I'm going to get into what those terminologies are and what the science is behind that. But we usually focus, anytime we think of chrono and circadian rhythms, we think of the day and night cycle. That's such a small part of this story, as we learned as we dug deeper and deeper into the details of chronobiology. And what we found is that we have the ability through vibration, and as long as we introduce the vibration in a very specific way, our body does in fact respond to the vibration. And we've actually combined many things that we learned through research, and the protocols that you're going to see from us in VCT are based off of the things we know about the body, where vibration itself from the tuning forks are really going to aid in the ability to heal the body. And again, that's going to be something to where you've already taken care of a lot of the other stuff, where the person like Lucy here, she's no longer in pain, she's moving well, but then it takes a little bit of time of rehabilitation, whether that's by a licensed physical therapist or physiotherapist or something like that. They're still getting the body back into the same condition that it needed to be in to operate efficiently. There's always some sort of rehabilitation afterwards. So I'm going to talk to you about what are those different conditions, what are the different diagnoses that you may come upon with a client to come into your office. So I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Focusing on the nervous system and what we call vibrotactile sensors. So Lucy here, she has in her nervous system, we know about the neurons up in the brain. Those fire in sometimes very specific timing sequences. We already know that there's a clock of 10,000 cells inside this suprachiasmatic nucleus, the CSN. We know that that's where the circadian rhythms are stored, and there's neurons that fire in repetition and rhythms. And then we have the nervous system firing things outwards into our body to move our muscles, to do certain things with our organs, the timing system that controls everything. There's pulses being sent out through the nervous system. And more importantly, I feel, is the sensors coming back to tell you whether an action has a consequence. The brain can't see the outside world, even though there's eyes attached to your brain as a special sense. Your brain needs to not be surprised. So your brain actually maps out and predicts what you should be doing with your body, whether it's moving, whether it's laying down, whether it's doing autonomous things like heartbeat and respiration, digestive processes, things like that, chemicals being released at certain times. Your brain doesn't know what's happening in your body. And the sensors in your body, it's placed throughout your body, is feeding back, and your brain will map things out. The timing involved in the sending information back and forth, the axons in a nerve and how long it takes to fire down that nerve, and how long does it take for things to get back to your brain. Where are things in space? Vibrational chronotherapy really is about space. Where is everything located in her body as she's laying here, and where does the brain think everything's located, and the amount of time it takes for our information to travel back and forth. When those timings are off, then you get really then you get problems. Even though there's no pain, and even though there's movement still, there's still a problem with the ability to move and to understand where things are in your body. It can even lead to cognitive things, where you have an overloading of sensors because everything's coming in, or you have behavioral problems or memory problems. It's all based off of timing, and we're going to show you those things. We're dealing with unweighted tuning fork sets. Now I have a set here that's actually the brain tuners. It's actually a set of 5 tuning forks, and in this case we're not only using these binaurally, which we're putting them one by each ear, but we also use them in different ways where we can put the tuning forks together in a certain pattern, and we can do tracking of our audio system with our visual system as well. And what we're really doing in cases like that is we're taking and we're using a tracking system that our body always has, and sometimes that gets kind of messed up over time. And we're doing what the body, we're helping the body do what it does naturally, which is your perception across your visual field, and the ability for your auditory system to fire a certain way to know where everything is in space. A lot of times we use more than one sense. So we can work around the head area when it comes to vibration, and then we can work on the body when it comes to the sensors that are based off of waiting for vibration to come in. We actually have sensors. It's not just all pain sensors that we have just underneath our skin. There's actually vibration-based sensors that are designed to take this tuning fork and to feel the vibrations coming into our skin, and then to actually fire impulses up to the brain so that we can map things out and know the timing of the frequencies. We actually dug into understanding this whole process of the nervous system and the vibrotactile sensors, very specifically to the unweighted tuning forks.